In a distant galaxy, far away from Earth, the star system Valdi is under attack by an evil force. The space pirate, Kaiser Greedy, envious of the joy the people of those planets had, started to steal their happiness, the planet's inhabitants, and corrupt their leaders. He plans to use Valdi as his new headquarters, in his mission to control the universe. A legendary hero tried to stop him, only to end up being captured. In despair, the people from Planet Near prayed upon a shooting star for salvation. Their wish reached Doruto, the star goddess, mother of all wandering stars, who sent her own legendary hero's son, Ristar, to defeat Kaiser Greedy and save the Valdi system. What's up everyone? I'm Hapnix. Ristar is a very interesting game for me. Ever since I first learned about it, it always reminded me a lot of Sonic. Both the games have stylized and colorful characters and catchy background themes, but they also seemed a lot different from each other. So I decided to play it and see the game's original ideas. But at the end, I had to beat the game 3 different times. More on that later. Ristar came out globally in 1995 for Sega Mega Drive. And contrary to what some people believe, the game wasn't developed by Sonic Team, but actually by Sega Consumer Research and Development Department No. 1, or Sega CS1. From that team, 2 names that stand out to me are Tomoko Sasaki and Yuji Uekawa. Tomoko was the game's composer, and besides Ristar, she also worked on other Sega titles, like the Night series, where she was the main composer, and Space Channel 5. She's also the voice behind the Chao in Sonic Adventure. Uekawa was the game's artist and character designer. He's a really important figure to the Sonic franchise, since he's the guy responsible for Sonic's modern look. He's also done a lot of Sega-related artwork, including stuff for Sonic Channel. During production, Ristar was a lot different. He was named Phil, and looked a bit scary to be honest. His name and the fact he can stretch his arms indicates he may be based in one of Sonic's rejected concepts, a rabbit named Phil's that could stretch his ears. You may remind him as that skin in Sonic Superstars. His design gradually changed during production, as this video from Hidden Palace shows some possible designs he could have had and wait, is he naked here? But the name stayed a bit longer, since there is a recording of a reseller tape where Ristar appears with his final design, but is still called Phil. Also, about the fact I had to beat this game 3 different times for this video. Just like a lot of other Japanese games from the time, when Ristar came to the West, it had some changes made to it. From small things like the planet's names and different sprites, why is my man so pissed? To bigger stuff like the game's story. The Japanese version has Ristar as the child of a cosmic goddess called Doruto, while in the US, he's the son of an unnamed legendary hero. But if the game had any continuations, I could see Sega pull in an Eggman/Robotnik here, and just having them two as his parents. Greedy's objective also changes depending on the version. In one, he wants to steal all the happiness in the universe for himself by building an artificial black hole, but in the other he just wants to rule everything. And on top of all of this, there's a Game Gear port made by Japan System House, also released in 1995. It just follows the Japanese story, but it also got some unique stuff that I think that would be cool to talk about. Ristar's journey starts at the green planet Flora. As the name indicates, this is a place full of plant life, but Greedy's influence made the vegetation grow out of control. Here's a quick tip for you. Every time you see a wall, try bashing your head against it. They sometimes may give you cool stuff, like lives, stars that serve as HP, or these jewels that only give you points in the score. But hitting the walls doesn't work in the Game Gear port. It's a lot easier to collect lives here though. You just need to get 100 of these big stars. The Game Gear version also has 2 exclusive items to it. The Superstar, it gives Ristar the ability to do cool flips, and he also becomes invincible or something. And this Blue Sphere. This is the way to get to the bonus stage in this version of the game, but you only get there once you defeat this area's boss. Here in the Game Gear version, it's just a room full of stars. But in the Mega Drive version, the way to access the bonus stage is by finding these special handles. There's like just 1 or 2 of them per stage. Each one sends you to a different bonus with different challenges, and you get a treasure once you get to the end. Besides all these differences, some enemies are also version exclusive, like this gecko from Mega Drive, on Game Gear, is replaced by this chill mole. Further ahead, this monkey with a bowler head starts throwing berries at us. This turns out to be the puppet lord Riho, who is controlling the planet's elder. Defeating him, planet Flora is saved, and we launch ourselves to our next destination. The planet we're going to depends on the console you're playing. On Mega Drive, we go to the water planet Undertow. The drains that regulate the water levels in this planet have been obstructed by Greedy's forces, so we have to swim through a bunch of spikes, seahorses, evil froggers, and electric squidwards, until we reach the room where the Steelhead Lord Osat is located, defeating him and pulling the corks blocking the drains. But on Game Gear, we go to a completely different planet, Terra, which seems to have been transformed by this area's boss, a magic tapir called Insomnis, who has the ability to change reality with his dreams. The US version skips the first part of this level for some reason. It looks kinda cute. He has a bunch of clouds and rainbows, and the theme song used here is the same one from Planet Freon, one of the next stages. Passing through a bunch of pirate ships in the second half and defeating Somnis, the place becomes kinda spooky. Look, there's even a skeleton there. Back to the Mega Drive version, after saving Planet Undertow, we go to the fire planet Scorch. This planet's temperatures are usually high, but after Greedy's army built an artificial volcano factory, this place is now engulfed by flames and lava. The factory chief is Mole Lord Adahan, and even after being defeated, he still try attacking us. The audacity! This planet isn't present in the Game Gear version for some reason. I don't know, maybe got nuked or something. After returning Scorch's temperatures to normal, we go to my favorite planet in this game, the Sound Planet Sonata. I really like this mechanic of starting the level with an incomplete background music and then piecing the missing parts together. We do it by throwing these metronomes at these birds. Each one adds a new part to the song, so we can listen to the complete version at the end. The reason why the background music was like this is the tone-deaf Lord Awawek. To get to him, we need to pass through Stardust Speedway? Ew, what the hell is this? The fight with Awawek happens on a stage with a whole crowd watching us. This birdie helps us by throwing stars from time to time. The audience then cheers for the murder they've just witnessed, and we go to the next planet. We arrive at the winter planet Freon. This snowy planet is now completely frozen by, you guess what? Greedy's influence. This level has widely different layouts between consoles, and a brand new background theme in the Game Gear port. I think that's because these may actually be two entirely different planets. In the US, both the Mega Drive and Game Gear versions call this planet Freon. But in the Japanese versions, the Mega Drive one is called Elikiki, and the Game Gear one is called Taimu. On Game Gear, we need to survive these time bombs that are deactivated when we fall into water. They don't deal much damage, so you can just ignore them. Here we fight the Time Hopper, a mechanical white rabbit with the ability to... You see what they did here? He freezes time, and this is a snowy planet called Taimu. And on Mega Drive, we start the level by skiing down a mountain ice cap style. We then meet this little yeti called Waoi. He might look friendly at first glance, but don't be fooled by him. He is actually trying to kill us. Maybe in his twisted mind he's just trying to play with us, but this doesn't look fun to me. He later helps us defeating this planet's boss, the Cat Tongue Lord Itamor, who is a giant snowman in the US version, but a robotic cat in the Japanese one. His original design is a pun on the word nekojita, which literally translates to cat tongue, but also refers to people who dislike or are incapable of eating hot food, and we defeat him by precisely throwing hot food into his mouth. Don't look at me like that, I'm still mad at you. We're now getting closer to Greedy's castle, but before that, we must first make a stop on the power planet Automation. This place is like a giant factory, and there are spikes literally everywhere. Later we find these shoes that make Ristar act like he's underwater, but not really. I still have no idea how these things work. This is as far as I could go the first times I played this game. The amount of coordination needed to not fall into spikes here kinda screwed me. But replaying it now, it isn't as hard as it was. The second half is a lot easier. It's just a bunch of rooms connected to each other by teleports. You need these yellow crystals to turn them on, and I discovered by complete accident you're supposed to tear off a piece of the wall to get this one. We then have an encounter with Greedy's top henchmen, the Omnipotent Lord Uranem and the Omniscient Lord Inones. Uranem may look tough, but he's actually one of the easiest bosses in the game. You don't really need to dodge his attacks, just hit him like crazy. After being beaten, they escape right to our last destination, Greedy's Space City, or simply, Planet Greedy. While this place is pretty straightforward on Mega Drive, just being a climb to the top, on Game Gear, we're inside an elevator, having to fight waves of enemies, when all of a sudden, Adahan appears. Just because his plant got turned into dust in this version, it doesn't mean he also did. But even after being defeated the second time, he still tried attacking us. When will he learn? We reach the door to the next area, and have to fight Inonis on his mech suit, the I-Bar 555. Just like Uranim, he may look tough, but you just need to attack him like crazy again. Just be a bit careful with the plasma shot and the boomerang, and you can defeat him in no time. After this, we go straight to Greedy. His first two phases aren't that difficult. Destroying these balls is pretty easy, and you can even farm some lives here. This also works on Game Gear, but there he only drops 1 star at a time. But once escape starts flowing, it becomes a completely different story. He shoots lightning at us, and he can even spawn a black hole that kills you instantly. You need to hold on to these enemies to not be sucked. This is way harder on Game Gear, because there, the way Ristar's arms work is weird. If both you and the enemy are on the ground, Ristar simply attacks right away, so you can't really hold them. I had to pause the game and watch some playthroughs to understand I had to do this to survive. Landing the last hit, Gready's black hole collapses, taking both he and his castle with it. After the credits, on the US version, Ristar goes back to his dad's arms, while in the Japanese one, we see that Greedy, Inonis, and Uranim survived the explosion. But on the Game Gear, only Greedy is present here, so I think the other two may have just died, I guess. Ristar was sincerely a really nice experience. The score made by Tomoko Sasaki is full of upbeat songs that make the game so much better to play. Again, I was a big fan of Planet Sonata's gimmick, and Grady's battle theme makes me so hyped when I'm fighting him. The designs of Ristar and the other characters are so fun, colorful, and unique, and the way they're drawn in the Japanese manual is pretty cute too. By the way, I searched Ristar and Yuji Uekawa on Google to see if I could find more stuff made by him related to the character, but I ended up finding these two gremlins. These are Router and Vicky, the mascots of Sega Sammy Baseball Club, both designed by Uekawa. I had no idea of their existence before this, let alone this baseball club. Back on track, everything I said before also applies to the Game Gear port, with the addition of the game seeming way more beginner-friendly, being easier to stack up lives, and having no limits for continues. Ristar also feels a lot more responsive here too, and when using the handles to shoot him into the air, he takes way longer before falling. After beating the game on Mega Drive, you receive some passwords depending on the number of treasures you've collected. They unlock some stuff like the boss rush, the stage select, the super hard mode, etc. After this game, Ristar only made some short appearances in other Sega titles, being a gachapon on Shenmue, and a flagman in Sonic and also Racing Transformed. Are you okay, buddy? You seem a bit weird. He also made an appearance in the game Sega. I've never heard about this game, to be honest. I think it looks interesting. But anyway, I'll wrap this video here. Have a nice day, night, or whatever time you may be watching this. Stay positive. Man, I'm hungry.